You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
In transit. Hello, Dave McDivitt. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Ross. How's it going?
Good, man. Wow, it sounds really good. Even though you're driving, it's like you're sitting right next to me.
You know, it's because I have that silky smooth voice.
I guess so. It's like I'm sitting shotgun with Dave McDivitt right here.
That's right.
Hey,
that'll be $5.
Keep your hand off my leg, bro. Keep your hand off my leg.
Sorry.
All right. So, yeah, you've been battling just like everyone else. Traffic here this morning. Nightmare.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, it is. But listen, it's just good to talk to you, man. I always love it, and I hope we can answer some questions for some people today.
Yeah, we got a bunch of great ones here this morning. We'll get to one for sure. I want to talk to with Emily. I don't know if we're going to call her or what. I said that to you this morning. I don't know if you saw that. The kid's getting bullied. Did you see that one?
No, I haven't seen it.
All right. We'll have to pull that up on the email because that came in later this morning. But it's a horrible story about a lady whose kid's being bullied. She found out there's an Instagram page dedicated to fights at the school, and her kid's featured on this on several different fronts. It's not cool. It's not cool at all.
I'll tell you what, it's scary. As a parent, I mean, the social media is just, it's the Wild West, and in a bad way.
Yeah, that's well put. All right, so let's get to one you said was pretty easy. First off this morning, we go to Jessica here. She has a story about, or a question about her apartment. She lives in an apartment. She got a nephew who's over 18. Occasionally he stays at her apartment. Landlord stated that since he is not on the lease, he cannot be there. He does not live with me. And they state he's trespassing since they don't want him here. And they say they'll call the police if they see him again. She wants out of her lease early. It expires next month, so it's not that far out. Can she get out of this thing?
Okay, did I say it was easy? I don't think I said it was easy. I don't ever say, oh, that's an easy one. Ross, I just have more questions right now about the situation. It almost sounds to me like the landlord, and I don't know if this is a large apartment complex, so if she means landlord, she means the management company, or if this is just a standalone home. Does it say apartment, though?
It doesn't specify. Wait, no, it does. It says occasionally stays at her apartment. Yeah, I figured it's okay. Some property manager that's just like full of themselves. Wanted to be a cop maybe when they were kids and couldn't quite cut it.
Well, listen, it makes me wonder, I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but is there a particular issue with this individual, the nephew? When they to talk about threatening to call the police, it almost sounds like they are concerned about this person being on the property.
Oh, he's been in trouble in the past or something like that?
Well, I don't know. And that's what I wonder. I don't know that we're getting the full story here. But let's just assume that there are no issues and that the landlord's just saying, look, this person's not listed on the lease and therefore they can't stay here overnight. There may be, the first thing is let's go to the agreement, the rental agreement, the lease agreement.
That's what I was thinking, dude. I know I'm not a lawyer, but I play one once a month with my friend Dave McDivitt. I was thinking, all right, what's the verbiage in the lease? Does it say absolutely no visitors? And if it does not, if it does not, they cannot enforce the nephew law, right?
That's what I think. I mean, because the thing is, there may be some kind of clause in there that says, there shall be no visitors, there shall be no overnight visitors, or there might be some provision that says you're only allowed to have, a visitor 14 days out of the year, and if so, they can stay no more than 5 consecutive days. They must register with the front office, and they must get a gate pass. Who knows what it says? But
it needs to be worked into the lease verbiage. We did have a former landlord check in earlier today and said when he was a landlord, he had that worked into his lease agreement. Said you can have visitors, but they can stay no longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's fairly typical because what they're going to do is have a situation where they're also dealing with these short-term rental now, the Airbnb issue as well, where some landlords don't want that. But making sure that you're not just you're the one on the lease, but really you're letting somebody else stay with you the full year too. and that's the person that's causing extra wear on the unit, or they don't know what this person is like. They haven't done a credit check or background check, because oftentimes these rental companies will do background checks on their tenants to make sure that they're not renting to somebody who has a criminal background, who's not a sex offender, and then certainly credit worthy, and they're going to be able to pay their lease.
Yeah.
Which brings up the other issue. There's less than a month to go, so let's make sure with this person who wrote in that they've actually taken the steps necessary to end the lease in a month. They want out now. Let's make sure that they're not going to be stuck in it longer than a month, because oftentimes with a lease there might be a rollover provision that says the lease will automatically renew unless you give notice to terminate the lease within a certain amount of days. But if we're at the natural expiry of the lease, let's say it was a 12-month lease, no automatic renewal, must vacate at the end of the 12 months or 2 years, whatever it is. Let's just assume then that we are within 30 days of that window. The next, obviously you go to the lease agreement, see is it silent on visitors or overnight visitors. Assuming that it's silent on overnight visitors, you can go to the management company or the landlord and say, what is your authority to prohibit my nephew from staying with me?
That's the polite way to say, who the hell are you to tell me my business?
Days. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so lease first. This is for anyone else. Because, Jessica's, this is, that means she sent it to us at the first of the month, so she's just a few weeks away from being done with this hellhole anyway. So just it'd be great to speak to her on the phone. I don't know if we can. I'll see if I can track her down here when we take our first break, see if we can get some of those things answered. But let's say someone's in a longer lease. So let's say they're getting harassed. They still have 6 months or more on their lease. Is that something they can break out by citing, hey, they're driving off my family members, even though there's nothing in the lease saying I can't have people over? Is that something you could use to get out of your lease?
There might be. Listen, you have the right to be able to enjoy the use of your unit or whatever it is you've leased. Right? The quiet enjoyment is a word that you hear people use in this context. Look, it means you can't just, as a landlord, you can't just come in. You can't always be knocking on my door, walking in, checking on things. I'm leasing this unit, so I have, within reason, the right to just bar anybody from coming in.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to do maintenance, that kind of thing. And I also then am allowed to invite people over unless they are somehow violating the law. And it could be if this, and again, we don't know anything about this nephew. There may be some reason that this leasing company or the management company or the landlord has a specific legal reason that they don't want that person on their property.
Right.
But go to them and say, listen, you're violating the terms of my right to be able to enjoy my property. There are no provisions in the lease. I've got 6 months to go. If you're going to continue to do this, then I want to get out of the lease. There are mechanisms, though, that you have to follow to try to terminate a lease early. You can't just unilaterally get up and leave and stop paying. That's going to create a real issue because you're going to be on the hook for the remaining months of the lease, and any, maybe losing your security damage deposit, any number of different penalties.
All right. I'll tell you what, we'll see if we can find Jessica to get some of those questions answered. Another, I think, would be fairly easy. Just basically the pros and cons of having a lawyer. Guy and his wife getting divorced after 20 years, both in agreement, so it's amicable. We plan on doing it ourselves, but all my friends say I'm crazy and she could screw me over, and I have to have a lawyer. They got a house and 2 cars, no kids. What should he do? Should he get a lawyer to protect himself? Or what's pro and cons of getting it if you're both agreement, hey, this thing is done, we need to move on.
I guess it is a trust issue with your ex. What's going to happen is that he gets a lawyer, then she most likely for sure will get a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then, there will be extra costs that they both incur. So if they decide that they're going to have to sell the house, and whatever equity they have that they get from selling the house, they're going to then spend some money on the lawyers that they've both hired. It can complicate the situation if he truly believes that she's not going to be out to screw him. And by the way, it's going to be agreed to. So whatever it is that they end up doing, it will be an agreement, and it will have to be ratified by a judge.
So it will be legal,
accepted by the court. So yeah, they can do it without a lawyer. People, do this fairly frequently. There's, if a dissolution of their marriage, and they can decide amongst themselves or between themselves what they're going to do as far as maintenance, which is spousal support. If one is going to pay spousal support to the other, is one asking for that? It could be that they just want to say, look, we're moving on. You're not going to owe me any money. I'm not going to owe you any money. We're going to sell the house. You get this car. I get that car. We'll sign over, title to the other person. And we're just going to move on. The fact that they don't have children does make it a lot easier, although after 20 years of marriage, those children might have been adults at that point anyway. But yeah, the lawyers can absolutely make things more complicated. It could smooth it out, though, if there is some tension there. Right. So it really is just going to, and there are forms online, there are instructions for how to do it. They don't have to have lawyers to help them go through the mechanics of dissolving their marriage and identifying what they're going to do.
And if things get sketchy, you can always then get a lawyer as long as you haven't signed all those papers and stuff, right? So you can get
That's
this,
right.
And if it seems like it's going well, everyone's happy, but then she's like, well, no, I want both the cars. And you're like, all right, I might need a lawyer then.
Yeah,
like that.
Exactly.
Right.
And until the judge
test the waters.
And listen, maybe his friends know better, I guess. I don't know.
I was wondering that because all your friends are always like, oh man, she's a bitch. Especially after someone breaks up.
She's going to take you to the cleaners and all of this, but I don't know.
And I'm sure that puts the fear of God in, in Paul, his friends. Dude, she's going to stick it to you. Because everyone has a guy who's been through a bad divorce, and you hear those horror stories, and they're always the most negative person when it comes to any relationship,
That's true, and you have to think about what it is that they're dividing up. I kind of think the big issues here would be, number one, the house. Number two, this idea of spousal maintenance. Does he or does his wife expect the other one to pay them money for a period of time? Because if they get the lawyer involved, they may say, look, you've been married for 20 years. It's all going to be a factor of what the income levels are, the respective income levels. But you also have issues that can come into play too. Inheritance money. Are there other pools of money besides just the house, for example? I think
this is a perfect example of the law ain't easy, is it?
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Can we get to the timeshare thing? You want to do that one?
Sure. Yeah. Everybody's favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, it's funny, too, because we run commercials here on the air with some guy who sounds like McGruff the crime dog. Remember that guy? Yeah. Take a bite out of crime. He's like, are you stuck in a timeshare? Me and my people will get you out of it. I guarantee. They want to suck you dry and ruin your life, but I'm going to help you and, sellmytimeshare.com. So it's obviously a problem fairly universal, yeah?
I think it is. Listen, it's...
Dude, I almost fell for one of these when I was a younger guy in Mexico.
Well, yeah, that's what
They give you $100 and a free bottle of tequila to sit there for an hour and talk.
But there's no obligation.
Right?
No obligation. And then, by the way, after you get your bottle of tequila in 1 hour, and it's very high pressure.
Yeah. It was scary. It was like, come on, sign here. Come on, sign here. I said, no, I don't really have the money I said I had. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. And this is what happens. And when you're in, you're kind of in. And so these...
it doesn't pass generational. This is from Janie. My parents are stuck in a timeshare they can't get out of. They told myself and my husband that congratulations, we're going to be stuck with them when they pass away.
Congrats.
Is that right? And then how do we get out of it or help them get out of it, I guess? Is that a thing? Can they pass it to the next generation? I can't imagine if my autograph is not on that, whatever they signed to get that, it's no way they can just hand it over to me, right?
Well, it can be a couple of different ways. Here's the caveat to this. This isn't something
By the way,
I've had.
Everything has a caveat
Everything
when it comes
has a caveat.
to law.
I just wanted to say that word. I also don't do this kind of law. I don't have a lot of experience with timeshares. I have personally tried to stay away from them. From just because I'm susceptible. You give me a bottle of tequila and $100, and who knows what's going to happen?
Stupid things happen.
I might agree to a lot of stuff.
That's the starting point of a very bad decision.
That's right. $100 and a bottle of tequila. This is one of those things where, and it's obviously, guess what? Just like we talked about in the last segment, it's going to depend on the terms of the contract, the timeshare agreement. But it could be that what happens is that timeshare agreement is owned in perpetuity by that couple, for example, which means that it goes into their estate. And if it goes into their estate, then it is part of the inherited property that's transferred through, through either intestacy or through a probate process or through through a will and a trust agreement. So let's just assume
it becomes just like their car.
Like their car, their house. So like you might have a mortgage payment on a house, you pass away, your children then inherit, the property, subject to obviously the mortgage that still has to be paid. And that's the same with the timeshare. I mean, you still have to pay these fees on the timeshare too. So in a situation like that, what they might be able to do is disclaim that part of the property, saying, look, we're not accepting that we are inheriting that. We don't want that. And they may be able to do that. But again, I've not done this, so I don't know exactly the formal process one would go through to do this. And I do think for this person who wrote in, I mean, speaking to a real estate attorney is going to be very helpful. Obviously, this McGruff guy, I mean, these, sellyourtimeshare.com, whatever, I hear all of them.
Yeah.
They may be able to help too if, in fact, it is passed on through the estate and you find that you've got
just it's amazing to think that they could
their
do
house,
that.
their
Basically,
Buick, and their timeshare.
Indenture you and then your family and your family's family for the generation after generation forever. How's it even possible?
Well, Ross, but think about that though too, right? Because you however you want to view your ownership of a timeshare, be treated as an asset, subject to all of these restrictions that go along with it too. That it's no different than a guitar that you pass on, right? You own the guitar, and then you die, and then the people that you give your stuff to when you die, they get it. So this son or daughter now gets this beautiful gift of a timeshare in Cabo.
Wow.
For 2 weeks out of the year.
It's like getting their cable bill when they're dead. It's like, hey, I'm dead. We don't watch cable anymore, but hey, you got to pay their bill. Wow. I know people that have that, and it starts off as, an okay deal. Like, on average, you're paying, $50 a night. But I know a guy who he's paying over $1,000 a year on dues and all that stuff. So it's working out. He gets 7 nights at this place, and it's like over $200 a night now. You could really get a nice place anywhere, probably even nicer than the timeshare.
For $100 on a bottle of tequila, you can come stay in my place.
And then it keeps on getting more old, and you keep on paying more because you keep on raising. So eventually, you could be paying, $5,000 a year for 7 nights at this fairly dumpy now condo.
Ross, have you seen Queen of Versailles? This movie? It is
never heard of it. What is it?
It's about a husband and wife, and husband started. I think it's called Westgate. It's one of the largest timeshare companies in the United States, if not the world. And he's made an absolute fortune. And his, fortunes have kind of waned and then increased and waned. It's been up and down a little bit. But they built, and I don't know what the status of this house now, but they did a documentary about 10 years ago about this house that they were building just outside of Disney World in Orlando. That was going to be, I think, the largest single-family residence in the United States. But the enormity of the property, but also the expense they were putting into making it like Versailles in France. It's just extreme. And they have this extreme lifestyle. And it's just kind of funny because it's funded by timeshares.
Timeshare people's indentured servitude, basically.
That's right.
Wow, that is just amazing. Amazing. So, you said what, a realty lawyer?
A realty lawyer. Yeah, I mean, real estate lawyers. I would speak to a real estate lawyer, find out.
Or call that McGruff guy. He sounds pretty serious.
And the other thing, too, is an estate planning attorney. So lawyers who do probate, estates.
My dog, by the way, is molesting David as he speaks the law. I think he loves you talking law, dude.
Well, he brought me $100 and a bottle of tequila, so he kind of do what he wants. So, yeah, I mean, I think those are the kinds of lawyers, wills and trusts. You look at a lawyer like that, that'll help with some of that stuff. It's my best advice right now for what it's worth.
Yeah, man.
Free on the air radio advice. Sometimes you get what you pay for.
Advice to everyone else: stay the hell away from timeshares. Is that right?
Just my advice about timeshares is just know what you're getting into. That's it.
I mean, you have disposable cash.
I can't say to stay away from them. They're the right thing for some people. They're the wrong thing for others.
Yeah, just the fact that it's fair. I guess double check whatever you're signing to.
Yep.
Woo! All right, let's see here. We still got some things to do. I know you weren't dialed in with the bullying email, but somebody definitely want to address here. We'll tell you about, I think it was Emily, I believe. Yeah, Emily. We'll try to call her. She said this early this morning and definitely needs some discussion. So we pick up the conversation with our man, your lawyer, David McDivitt.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Yesterday I had to pick him up from school after another fight. Discovered there's an entire Instagram page dedicated to fights at the school How that even happens, I have no idea. Son is featured in more than one of those videos. So she wants to get a complaint against the school district, to school, students, and wants to know what steps to take. And again, this is what needs to be fixed to fix the gun violence problem. We just can't have people being treated like this. And everyone bounced out of school. They stage these mass exits. What does that do? Stop this from happening in the halls of your school, kids. Step one. Unbelievable.
Emily, my heart goes out to you. This is hard. And to your son. This is heartbreaking.
So let's see. What do you have for Emily? What questions do you have? What do you need?
So Emily, I think there's a lot to unpack here, but my impression is maybe you could tell us, how long has this been going on?
For just this year, since the beginning of the school year.
Okay. All right. And have you been letting the administration know about these complaints, and how have you let them know about the complaints?
Well, they usually are the ones that end up calling me into the school. Hey, Caleb got into or my son got into a fight, or there was an altercation at school.
How frequent is this? We're talking in this year. How many times you had to call about your kid being involved in a fight?
Maybe once a month.
Gosh.
All right. And you also said that there's an Instagram page featuring these fights, so they're common enough that somebody is videotaping them and then posting them.
Yeah, and I talked to his principal yesterday, and I told him, are you aware of this? He's like, yeah, we get a hold of Instagram, and they take it down, but the students make another page.
All right. And do you know I'm not asking for names. I don't want names. But do you know what students are making these pages?
I do not know.
Okay.
It's probably easy to identify, I would imagine, right? Because anytime you sign up for these, you have to have your email and stuff, and there's at least some confirmation.
Instagram's going to know, but it's hard to find that out publicly. It just is.
And the last thing Instagram wants to be is a part of this.
When we get off the air, I'm going to give you the names of a couple of attorneys who can help if you want some guidance in navigating your relationship with the school.
Yeah. Do you feel like the school is really not, I don't know, I want to say just justifying your complaints? Do you feel that way? Are they falling on deaf ears?
No, I feel like the school is doing what they can do.
Yeah.
In a couple of the fights, because I recorded all of them. I was like, I want proof. The couple of the fights, the teachers do get in and they do break it up. The CSPD is stationed at the school. I've seen them in a couple of them, but it's like, why are you guys letting this happen? I've seen one video where a teacher is standing in the doorway just watching. And I know the school is trying to do what they can to prevent it from happening, but these kids, they don't care. And they're putting the safety of our kids in danger, because, you never know what some kid's going to bring to school.
Right. No, this is no way to live either, especially at a young age like that, man. Life's hard enough, especially being a 15-year-old
terrified to go to school.
Understandably.
Yeah.
And are there things that you can be doing to help so that or give him some opportunities to be able to get off property as soon as school is over, so he's not somehow dragged into these fights?
He gets on the bus, but they happen during school, at lunchtime or passing periods or something. I'm like, just stay inside, keep your head down. Don't even talk to him. He's like, Mom, they just come up and they start hitting me.
Okay. And have you reported these assaults to the police?
No, I have not. That was going to be my step today.
Because keep in mind, if what you're saying is true, as you explained it, then what is happening is he's being assaulted, physically,
and they have it on tape.
Yeah.
And so you can bring criminal charges against these people who are doing this to him. And so the police need to find out about this. The district attorney's office needs to know about this. And so you're going to need to start making a record of your complaints as well, showing that on such and such a date, you reported this to the police. On such and such a date, you brought this to the attention of the district attorney's office. You did it in writing. You included still photos or videos of the people who are use the fancy word, the perpetrators, the bullies.
Because more than likely, one of those kids in the videos that's punching him is probably the kid who's posting these things on Instagram afterwards.
Could be.
I'm thinking it's more like a group of people posting these videos?
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, the school maybe needs to do more. I'm not sure. I just don't know everything. And it could be that because the police are there, they are going to have a better opportunity to find out who did this. But I think if you start reporting this,
I think that would snap everyone into line as far as just get things moving. So step one, report that. And you said you have copies of all the videos from the Instagram page, yeah?
Yeah.
So you can see who's doing this.
You share those with the cops. I think that's a great first step, yes?
That's what I would do.
All right.
And again, like I said, well, I'll get off the air and we'll give you some names of some attorneys
That specify this.
I appreciate that.
It's just
No
heartbreaking,
problem, man.
It really is.
Yeah, because everyone's been bullied in their life at one time or another, you know? And especially, I can't even imagine being a kid in this day and age where everything is then videotaped and posted and lives eternally. Tough. All right. Em, can you hold on the line with us here?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Keep us in touch, too. Let us know anything else we can do, okay?
All right. Yeah, for sure. I will do that.
Man, see, even something as simple as that is not an easy answer. It's not like, all right, we'll just go tell them and it should be taken care of. Oh, that's tough, man. That is tough. We had Citizen Jonathan check in, said he knows a bunch of bikers. He's like, hey, we're going to drive the kid to school one day with about 100 bikers just to show everyone else
might do it.
What you're messing with, right? We might have to do that. Take the kid in the black dog with 100 bikes behind us. All right, well, good luck. Emily, we'll talk to you here off the air. Let's see. You want to collect ourselves? That was kind of heavy.
Sure.
All right, we'll do that. We'll give her some info off there, and we'll come back for one more quick segment here with the Law Frog. It's David McDivitt Law.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Roundabout day we've had.
Oh, gosh.
We learned timeshares are horrible. We also learned that children are horrible.
Bullies are bad, man.
And we get to our final question. You can always send us a question if you want. Dave will be back here in just a couple, 3 weeks for next month's free legal segment. And under the contact, it just says Law Frog. You just drop it right there. Name, number, email. And if you want to chat with us, just, tell us, hey, be sure to call me beforehand. If you don't want to, also note that as well. We couldn't get a hold of Jessica, who has her nephew being problematic, says to the landlord. So we couldn't get any conclusion there whether or not the verbiage is in her lease. But she's almost done with her lease, so I assume she's going to be just out of there. And she'll know then on her next lease to make sure.
Watch out for that. Yeah, and maybe try to bake something like that in, too. Just say, hey, look, and understand what the visitor policy is. And one thing that we didn't even touch on, too, is there some kind of other issue at play here? We talked about perhaps criminal issues, but there may be some kind of bias at play here on the part of the landlord where they just don't like the nephew for one of any number of different reasons that might be actionable. There are just so many complicated things. So I think I'm recoiling because I said it was easy. I never said it was easy.
Right.
That's going to stick with me all day.
It's never easy
and Ross,
when it comes to the law.
With me, it's never easy. Unless you got $100 and a bottle of tequila, it is never easy.
I just imagine it's just an overpowered manager trying to push people around. One of those jerks.
Yeah.
Jerk. So,
Jerk!
There you go. Now, we get to our last question. I'm kind of torn because I'm a firearm owner. I believe in your rights to bear arms, but I'm also a stickler when it comes to other caveats. I think if you leave your firearm in your car unlocked and someone steals it, you are accountable for any crime that gun is associated with. And more so, you lose your gun like that, you can no longer have a firearm. I have other things like that where it probably doesn't sit well with some. But I think there's a responsibility that goes with having a firearm. And if you break that responsibility, you don't have a firearm anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm torn with this guy now because I don't know the rest of the story, too. This is from Citizen John. 2000, I was arrested for violation of a restraining order. I have no felonies on my record. Trying to buy a firearm. How can I find out if I have a domestic violence charge on my record? The court records don't appear to show one, but I don't want to end up falsifying any records, which is cool. The way to be on the line. But where's that go? I'm not sure. I know if you have a felony. We've talked several times about people who got a felony when they were just a dumb kid at 18, and here we are 30 years later. Still can't vote. Still can't get a gun. And more than likely, we'll never be able to vote. We'll never be able to have a gun.
So in a situation like this, I think maybe the best thing that he can do is to perhaps check with certain databases that might have it. The Colorado Bureau of Investigations, CBI, it's our version of the FBI, basically. Yeah. CBI, it keeps a database of all of this information about people's arrest and conviction records. he may be able to contact them and see if he can find out from them what is on his background, what is on his record. The other thing he can do is do one or more and try in-depth background searches on himself and see what comes up.
One of those where you pay for it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like employers use?
Yeah. That's right. I mean, I think that may be one of the quickest ways to do it. I mean, he can certainly, I don't know if he's been, did he say he's been to the court websites and he can't find anything on the court websites?
It's vague. He says the court records don't appear to show, but I don't want to end up falsifying any records.
See, that's the thing. Sometimes this can be really difficult. Even when you go online, you have access to the disposition information for a particular charge. So it goes back to his 2000 domestic violence charge. It may show that it was closed because he complied with all the terms of whatever plea agreement or whatever conviction or whatever. But there may be, that may not show the arrest record, and it may not show any kind of thing that is lingering on there that would indicate that he is going to fail a background check when he purchases the firearm.
And that would also ping there, right? Once you do the background check, they could come and say, I'm sorry, you came back negative. I don't know, does he say negative?
Well, I mean, it depends on what he's looking for. What he thinks would be dispositive, would keep him from the DV charge or anything that might keep him from having a firearm. There may be other things. Here's the other thing, too. There may be something else that's on his record that he doesn't know about because it's not supposed to be on his record. Somehow it's erroneously on his record. I mean, that is very rare. But, mixed up identities, same name.
Yeah.
Somehow it gets filed under the wrong person's name. I mean, there's always a chance for that. But I mean, I think going through and I haven't been to the website for the CBI, but it could be that by just going to the website there, you can find out information on how to get access to these records. And it may take a little bit of time. I mean, in the meantime, he might want to just do his own background search, go to a private company that does these things.
Yeah, just like companies do when they vet people to see if they're employable. Start there and go for it. And straighten up. Don't violate restraining orders. Be a nice guy. Don't have restraining orders against you in the first place, John.
Sorry, Ross, I have one against you, but I haven't told you yet.
Sorry, it's a 10-footer. Yep. So we're well within our distance. You dreamy lawyer dude, you. Oh, man. Well, that was a busy day today, brother.
Yeah,
I think we made some headway, though. We kept in touch with Emily. We gave her, what was that first name of the lawyer gave her? Ivan or Igor? Something like that? Man, that's a scary lawyer name. Like, I wouldn't screw with a lawyer named Igor.
Well, you should see some of the names I come up with late at night in chat rooms.
I bet. That's for another segment, Law Frog. So, Emily, best of luck with you and your kid. John, again, straighten up. Janie, sorry, you're going to have to pay for your parents' mistake for the rest of your life.
Love you, Mom and Dad.
Hopefully it's in the tropics, right? Hopefully it's not like in, like my grandparents would spend a lot of time in TRC, New Mexico, which is just this dry, vacant world. It's like, oh, no.
Congratulations, Ross. We have a timeshare, and it will be yours someday.
TRC, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
This will all be yours.
And then, Jessica, sorry we couldn't track you down, but hopefully you get better digs. Get away from that jerk boss or jerk landlord. All right. Good job, McDivitt. Good job.
Rossi Ross, great to see you. Thank you.
Let's pencil this in for next month. Same time, same place.
Same bat channel.
Same bat channel. It's Dave McDivitt, our lawyer, your lawyer, McDivittLaw.com or 444-444-4444.
Thank you for listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM, presented by McDivitt Law Firm.